In the winter of 1865, 3 men pushed a small rebuilt boat into one of the most violent oceans on Earth. No escort. No rescue plan. Just wood, seal fat, and stubborn belief. Behind them lay a subantarctic island that had already tried to kill them for 19 months. Ahead of them lay nearly 300 miles of open sea where ships vanished without explanation. This was not exploration. This was escape. And failure meant the ocean would erase their names forever. The story began far from ice and storms. In December 1863, the schooner Grafton rested calmly in Sydney Harbor, taking on supplies for a southern voyage. She was not built for extremes. Small, lightly constructed, meant for coastal trade. Her captain, Thomas Musgrave, was a man of habit and order. He wrote everything down. Distances, bearings, days. At sea, memory fails before the body does, and Musgrave trusted ink more than instinct. His crew was small but capable. A practical Scottish mate, a strong hunter, a quiet mechanic, and a French engineer whose mind would later become the difference between survival and slow collapse. They sailed south chasing reports of tin deposits on the remote Auckland Islands. Like many dangerous ventures, it seemed reasonable only before the ocean had its say. By early January 1864, the islands emerged through fog and rain. The wind rose quickly. Anchors dragged. Waves slammed the hull through the night. Near dawn, the sound every sailor fears cut through the storm. Wood grinding against rock. The ship began to break apart. Musgrave gave the order no captain wants to give. Abandon ship. They salvaged what they could while the sea finished the rest. A small dinghy. Tools. A gun. Canvas. Navigation instruments. Then they watched the Grafton tear itself to pieces against the rocks. In a single morning, their world shrank to what they could carry and whatever the island would allow them to take. The Auckland Islands were hostile in quiet ways. Rain fell constantly. The ground swallowed footsteps. Wind never fully stopped. Rescue was not something you waited for there. It was something you imagined to keep despair away. That first night, soaked and shaking under canvas, the men barely slept. At dawn, Musgrave made a decision that would save them. They would not wait. Waiting kills morale. They would build a life. A routine. A system. Days were counted. Tasks assigned. Meals shared. Cleanliness enforced. Sundays observed. These things seem trivial until they disappear. When structure dies, people follow. They found fresh water, timber, and seals. The seals became everything. Food, oil, clothing, fuel. The work was brutal, but hunger sharpens focus. Using salvage tools, they built a proper cabin near the stream. Dryness became luxury. Shelter became sanity. Then the engineer changed the story. Instead of merely surviving, they began producing. Using stone, clay, and seal skin, he built a crude forge. Bellows from hides. Valves from scraps. Heat meant repair. Repair meant progress. Broken metal became tools. Seal oil became lamps. Fat and ash became soap. Skins became waterproof clothing. Even ink was made so Musgrave could keep writing because writing kept his mind intact. Winter closed in. Storms intensified. Darkness stretched the days thin. Depression arrived quietly, not as panic but as emptiness. They countered it with discipline. Or conversation. Shared routines. Lessons. Games made from bone. This was not entertainment. It was mental maintenance. Months passed. No ships came. Eventually, the unspoken idea became unavoidable. They would leave the island themselves. The dinghy was too small, but impossible ideas gain strength when death is the alternative. They rebuilt it, cut it open, extended the hull, reinforced the keel, forged nails and fittings by hand, sealed seams with a mixture of fat, fiber, and resin. A storm nearly destroyed everything, undoing months of labor. They repaired it anyway. Starting again was easier than giving up. By mid-1865, the boat was ready. 17 feet long. A small deck. A fragile shelter. They named it Rescue not as a promise but as defiance. It could not carry all 5 men. That truth was faced without drama. 3 would go. 2 would stay behind and keep the camp alive. Musgrave went to navigate. The engineer went to repair what broke. The mechanic went to manage sail and steering. The other 2 remained, trusting that the sea would not take the men they were betting their lives on. On July 19th, after 19 months on the island, the boat slipped into the gray water. The first day was merciful. Then the ocean remembered where they were. Gales rose. Waves stacked high and steep. Water poured in faster than it could drain. Sleep came in minutes, stolen between bailing and steering. A breaking wave struck broadside. The mast groaned. The sea flooded the boat. For a moment it seemed finished. Then the hull rolled back upright. The design held. Navigation was guesswork under clouded skies. Musgrave aimed for the southern edge of New Zealand. Miss it and the cold would finish what the island had started. On the 5th day the weather eased just enough. Through a break in the gray, land appeared. They were not safe yet, but they were no longer lost. They reached shore exhausted, broken, alive. Musgrave did not rest. 2 men were still waiting on that island. Finding a rescue ship took weeks of argument and refusal. No one wanted to risk winter seas for a maybe. Musgrave insisted. Eventually he secured a vessel and returned south as pilot. When the ship entered the harbor, 2 figures emerged from the trees, running, waving. The routine had held. The camp still stood. Hope had almost run out, but not quite. All 5 men left the island together. What makes this story endure is not luck. It is structure under pressure. Shared responsibility. The refusal to stop building even when surrender would have been easier. The ocean remains indifferent. But for 19 months, 5 men proved that survival is not just endurance. It is discipline, cooperation, and the decision to keep going when no one is watching.